All right, people. I don't know where to begin because I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record. Every week, I am making a video on Melbourne and not for the right reasons. Melbourne has gone from being one of the most livable cities to potentially unlivable. Have a look at this. So over the weekend, since I made a video last week on Wednesday or Thursday, today is Monday, there have been 3 violent home invasions across Melbourne. Okay. Now, let me say that those of us old enough to remember the good old days of Melbourne, this is not what Melbourne used to be like. And I have some stats to show you. But before that, let me show you a gut-wrenching video from Melbourne. This latest news story from Channel 7 about another home invasion, and it's the usual suspects. Sorry, I'm not blind. I can see, and I can see the trends, and telling the truth is not racist. Even if it is racist, I don't care, because I think telling the truth is always in the best interest of the public.
I'm here at the side of a home in Ivanhoe East where yesterday...
Those of you who don't live in Melbourne, Ivanhoe is considered one of the poshest suburbs in Melbourne.
I'm here at the side of a home in Ivanhoe East where yesterday morning around 5 o'clock, 4 masked thugs broke in and terrorised the family that lived here. They used this gate, climbed over to access the property.
I grabbed my daughter, said, you go into the bedroom with mum, you close yourselves in, you don't come out until I open the door.
By the time they made it here,
Australians are being forced to make life and death decisions. Why? Imagine that. You're living a good life. All of a sudden, your life is shattered. Someone violently tries to break in, and you obviously assume the worst. You think that they're going to kill and butcher your family members right before your eyes, and your life is just instantly over. Nobody plans for that, but now we have to think about this.
Open the door.
by the time they made it here to the back door is when the father of the family confronted them. He was shouting aggressively, telling them to get back. It's now been repaired, but they were able to use their machetes, both the blade and the stub at the end, to smash this glass through.
My first thought was, no one's going to touch my girls tonight.
Yeah, they ain't Aussies, I'm telling you. They ain't Aussies.
I didn't realise it was them banging at Dad. And that's when I realised, like, okay, where it's on here.
You're not getting past me tonight. Tonight is not your night. Tonight is my night.
The 4 boys aged between 14 and 15 were arrested in Mernda, and they'll
Mernda. They went from Mernda to Ivanhoe.
face Melbourne Children's Court today.
The consequences are not there. There's no punishment for the crime, and they've changed our lives forever now.
They're just going to come out. They wouldn't even spend a day in jail. The kids, yeah? They're kids. What kind of kids are they? That's what I mean by values. Values matter. Cultures matter. If you bring in people from third world violent cultures, their kids are not going to magically become Australians. Just not going to happen. Oh, sorry. Did you think that was it? Let me show you another one. This happened in Geelong, Victoria's second city, about an hour out of Melbourne. A group of up to 6 armed attackers have left 2 builders with horror injuries after an alleged machete assault at a Lara building site. Aussies don't use machetes, I'm telling you. This ain't Aussie. This is not Aussie. Let me show you another story of violent home invasion, this time in Springvale. Springvale is not known for being one of the best suburbs in Melbourne, but still, we are being told to accept this as the new norm. But I'm sorry, we don't have to accept this as the new norm, because we know what happens when you just put your head down, accept the government's narrative, mind your own business, don't protest, then we know what happens. Let's look at London. Every single day in London, I'm seeing videos of men from foreign cultures just hacking each other off in broad daylight in the middle of the streets. I don't know if I should say that it's going to happen in Australia, because look at this. 4 days have gone past and 3 violent machete attacks. All by, well, I'm sorry, they don't tell you about the ethnicity, but I'm just going to assume if it fits the mold, if it's a machete attack, if the teenagers, if they're wearing ski masks, I'm going to assume, and I'm going to push that narrative, that they're either Sudanese or Somalis. They're some sort of Africans. I'm going to say that. Otherwise, be honest with us. I just found out while I was doing research for this video, back in 2018, the police stopped recording the ethnicity of all criminals. Why?
Good evening. Detectives have converged on a bloodied Springvale street following a violent home invasion. Armed intruders smashing their way into the house before kidnapping a terrified occupant.
They also believe it is the second time the home's been targeted in just the past few days. Isabel Quinlan with this exclusive report.
A violent entry in a sinister and targeted attack.
There was a lot of police around the area. There's about 7 police cars, a lot of policemen, and all the houses were all taped up.
3 offenders in the early hours of the morning ambushed residents in this Springvale home. 2 men inside were battered and bloodied before one was kidnapped and driven to another property in Cranbourne North, where he was later released.
There's a massive blood trail that goes all the way up to the end of the street and to the end of the road, which is probably at least a kilometre long.
2 men aged 54 and 35 were taken to hospital with serious injuries. A woman also home at the time of the invasion, treated for shock.
Just all a little bit worried, to be honest with you. Yeah, especially there's a lot of gangs around here as well, and the gang violence has increased.
Almost half a dozen officers from the Viper Task Force door-knocked homes in the area as forensics combed through evidence at the scene, trying to piece together what led to this brutal assault.
It's very concerning because it seems to be happening a fair bit around here.
OK, let's go live now to Isabel, who's in Springvale tonight. Izzy, this is the second attack at that property. Do police know why that's happened?
That's still very much under investigation, Alicia, given these attacks occurred just days apart. But detectives do believe it is targeted. They're still here at the property this evening, along with forensics who've spent a great deal of time inside the home, collecting as much evidence as possible, with the 3 offenders still on the run, Alicia.
OK, Izzy, thank you.
Still on the run. Of course they are. Let me read you a tweet by Sydney Watson. I have said it before and I'll say it again. Australia never had a meaningful issue with home invasions, carjackings, car robberies, machete attacks, etc. until it started importing Sudanese and Somalians. Accusations of racism don't change reality. This is Channel 9's report on the same Ivanhoe home invasion.
They came before dawn. 4 hooded figures slip through the shadows of a family backyard. A place of comfort suddenly turns into terror. Homeowner Joe yelling behind the glass door as the teens try to smash their way in with a machete. That doesn't work, so they kick through the window, then thrust the machete into the broken glass, forcing the father to defend himself with an ironing board as his wife was on the phone to 000. The family of 3 asleep inside when the nightmare unfolded around 5 yesterday morning, awoken by the sound of rustling at their Ivanhoe East property. Making no headway and running out of time, the teens flee in a car before police arrive.
We've had this confirmed now to be an attempted aggravated murder.
So I did some research after that, yeah? And I said, is it just me? Is it my bias? Are we living in the age of social media where you get to see more of these videos and then you arrive at a conclusion that maybe we are noticing it more now? So I did a bit of digging. Have a look at this. So back in 2015, we had 2,900 aggravated residential burglaries, yeah? Look at this trend is going up, 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 up. And in 2023, it almost doubled to 5,587. A year later, 6,927, 7,856. I'm like, what is it? What's happening? Why is there a sharp increase in that? So I had a theory on this, okay? I had a theory that a lot of Sudanese and Somalis started coming in the late 90s and the 2000s. Those kids have grown up now. Actually, let me show you another damning statistic from woke ChatGPT. The raw claim overrepresented in youth jails. So there is data backing that, at least for certain periods. African, mostly South Sudanese youth made up around 19% of young people in custody. 19%. Yet they account for less than 1%, actually 0.5%, 0.5% of Victoria's youth population. More recent figures cited in official discussions go even higher, up to 39% of youth in custody identified as African, compared to about 2.6% of the youth population. So bear that in mind, okay? So I've had a theory that those kids who came in the late 90s, 2000s, they've grown up. They're in their teens or even early 20s. So is there a correlation between the growing population of the Sudanese and the Somalis and home invasions? So let's have a look. Have a look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Look at this. So the red line represents the population of Sudan, South Sudan, and Somali-born people. And this doesn't tell you the whole picture because, as I said, Victoria Police does not record the ethnicity of people. It just records the place of birth of people. So this line represents people who were born in these African countries. Look at this, 9,145, and it goes up. So look at the correlation. As the population of Africans goes up, the amount of burglaries go up. It's just, you can't make this up. We can't make this up. What are we supposed to do? Look, as I said, I don't care. We have to tell the truth. If they expect us not to concoct some stories or assume things or cherry pick data, then give us the real data. That's what we saw in Britain, guys. They started covering for their crimes. They started hiding the data, stopped collecting the data. That's what they did in the UK. This is why during the whole grooming gang scandal, a lot of data points were actually missing because the police was not recording the ethnicity of the criminals. That's exactly what's starting to happen in Australia because they want to protect these people. They're not recording the data. Why? Because they want to gaslight the Australian public. Don't you dare assume that most of these carjackers, home invaders, machete attackers are of African origin. How dare you assume that? Why can't we assume that? Because most of the footage that we see, that paints a totally different picture. So I don't know, guys. I really don't have any solutions. I don't think any one single political party can do it, and I don't think we can have unity as a nation on this topic. Yes, most Australians want immigration to be controlled, but at the same time, they cannot unite on one single issue. So I don't know. I'll just keep reporting. I'll just keep telling you what's happening, and I don't have the solutions.